All right, let's dive in. We are cracking the code on what might just be the most stressful 17 minutes of the entire TOEFL exam, the speaking section. And today, we're going to lay out the exact blueprint you need to get a top score.
So does that ticking clock make your mind just go completely blank? You find yourself struggling to get your thoughts in order when you're under pressure. If that sounds like you are so not alone. It's a really high-stakes moment, and let's be honest, it's designed to be a challenge.
But here's the thing. What if you could see the test from the other side? What if you knew exactly what the graders, both the human ones and the AI, are actually looking for? Well, that's what we're going to cover right now.
Okay, so here's our game plan. We'll start by breaking down the section itself. Then we'll decode how it's scored. After that, we're going to focus on mastering 3 key skills: your delivery, your language use, and how you structure your ideas. And to wrap it all up, we'll talk about how to practice smart.
First things first, let's get a really clear picture of the challenge that's ahead of us. What does the speaking section actually look and feel like?
So think of it like a 17-minute sprint that has 4 different tasks. The first one is what they call an independent task. That's where you just state and defend your own opinion. Easy enough. But then the other 3 are integrated tasks, and these are way more complex because you have to read something, then listen to something, and then put all of that information together into one single coherent response. It's a real juggling act.
Okay, now this is where it gets really, really interesting. We're about to pull back the curtain on how your answers are actually scored. This information isn't technically a secret, but it's the one thing that most people preparing for the test completely overlook. Every single one of your responses for all 4 tasks is judged on these 3 core things. Pillar 1 is delivery, basically how clear and natural you sound. Pillar 2 is language use, that's your grammar and your vocabulary. And Pillar 3 is topic development, how well you organize your thoughts. If you focus on these 3 pillars, you're not just studying for a test, you're literally building the exact skills the graders are trained to reward.
And I want to be super clear here, we are not guessing. This isn't some theory. These 3 pillars, delivery, language use, and topic development, come straight from the official ETS scoring rubrics. We're essentially using the grader's own playbook to get ready.
So let's tackle that first pillar, delivery. This is all about the nuts and bolts of your speech. How do you make sure you sound clear and confident even when you're feeling nervous?
Okay, let's break this down. First, pace. You're going for a natural speed, not a super fast rush. Around 150 words per minute is a great target. Next, clarity. The easiest trick in the book? Just open your mouth a little more when you speak. It physically stops you from mumbling. Then there's word stress, which is so important. Stressing the wrong syllable, like saying project instead of project, can totally change the meaning. And finally, intonation. Please avoid that flat, monotone robot voice. Varying your pitch makes you sound way more engaged and, honestly, more confident.
All right, so once your delivery is feeling solid, it's time to move on to that second pillar, language use. This is all about the words you pick and the grammar you use to get your ideas across with some real precision.
Look, nobody expects you to be perfect, but you really have to avoid making the same basic mistakes over and over. 2 of the most common errors that just drag scores down are forgetting past tense endings, like saying, I walked to the store yesterday instead of I walked, and dropping the S from plurals, like I have 2 car. Fixing tiny things like that makes a huge difference.
Now, here's a fantastic way to really elevate your language. Instead of just using basic descriptions, try dropping in some natural idioms and phrases. It signals a much higher level of skill. It shows the graders that you get the nuances of English, not just the dictionary definitions, and that is a surefire way to stand out. And now for our final pillar, topic development. And you could argue this is the most important one of all. I mean, you can have beautiful delivery and amazing vocabulary, but if your ideas are just a jumbled mess, your score is going to suffer. This is all about structure and logic.
When that timer is ticking, don't try to reinvent the wheel. Just use a simple, proven formula. Answer, support, conclude. First, state your answer directly. No beating around the bush. Second, and this is the most important part, support it with 2 specific reasons or examples. And third, conclude with a quick little wrap-up sentence. That simple structure guarantees your response is always logical and complete.
Now, for those tricky integrated tasks, you can't rely on your memory. Your notes are your lifeline. But, and this is key, don't try to write down every single word. Use symbols, use abbreviations. Just focus on the main ideas. A great strategy is to just divide your paper into columns, one for the reading, one for the listening, and one for the connections between the 2.
All right, so we've got the blueprint. We know what the graders are looking for, and we know how to structure our answers. So now the big question is, how do we put all of this into practice and avoid the common traps that even really smart students fall into?
This right here shows the biggest pitfalls that hold people back. A classic one is false confidence. That comes from just memorizing answers, which always ends up sounding robotic and unnatural on test day. An even bigger mistake is avoiding the complex integrated tasks. It's so tempting to just practice the easier independent task, but you have to get good at all four to get a high score.
So what does smart practice actually look like? Well, first, you have to record yourself. I know, it can be painful to listen to your own voice, but it is the #1 best way to catch your own mistakes, especially those filler words like and ah. Always use a timer, and if you can, find a speaking partner to get some real feedback. And finally, use technology. AI tools can give you instant corrections on everything from your pronunciation to your grammar.
And hey, don't underestimate the power of using the right resources. The data shows that a staggering 90% of students who used official TOEFL prep materials felt more prepared on test day. The takeaway here is crystal clear. This isn't about getting lucky, it's about systematic, smart preparation. Let's wrap this up with probably the most important mental shift you can make. The goal is not to sound like a flawless, perfect native speaker. Seriously. The graders, both human and AI, are not looking for perfection. What they're looking for is control. Consistent, predictable control over your delivery, your language, and your structure.
So as we finish up, I want you to ask yourself this. What's the one skill you'll start practicing today? Is it your pacing, your grammar, your note-taking? Pick one thing from this blueprint and just start building that control today. Because that is how you turn all that anxiety into a score you can be proud of.